taking a look at one of my favourite FPS single player campaigns in a very long time. If you haven't already played it, I think Titanfall 2 single player is a must play for any first person shooter fan. It blends simple but great storytelling and characters with unique and fun gameplay mechanics that break up the constant shooting of enemies that a lot of other games don't quite seem to get right. But why exactly was it so good, and what makes it extra special for me? There are plenty of FPS games that adopt a much more open world design. In fact, it's been a bit of a trend in the last 5 years or so. Think of games like Far Cry or The Witcher or Fallout. All of these are very popular first-person shooter or third-person role-playing games, mainly revolving around a single-player experience. Very few games nowadays, however, can pull off what's essentially a linear-based FPS campaign without it getting stale or boring. The key exception to that would be Call of Duty. Those single-player campaigns can more often than not provide an engaging single-player that keeps you entertained and brings in new mechanics as it goes to break up the gameplay. Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare kind of give you a few choices to make along the way. But to this day, in my opinion, Call of Duty 4 is one of the best single player games that I've played. Definitely one of the best first person shooter single players for sure. It's no surprise then that after playing through Titanfall 2, I got the same sort of feelings that game brought me, and a lot of the same team actually worked on both of these games. Memorable moments with levels that I will look back upon in a few years and think, oh yeah, remember that level from COD 4 or Gillied Up, or do you remember that level Effect and Cause from Titanfall 2? If you play a game and the level sticks in your mind for how good that they were, then something has been done right. I think it's quite refreshing really that in this day and age, when a lot of developers are trying to make games more open world to give the players more options, that a linear based game like Titanfall 2 can thrive because of great game design. And just look at Doom 2016 for example, the reboot, another great game that went back to the FPS roots and games of old, and it did it so well that I can't think of a game that I had more fun with. Such a simple concept, just like FPS games used to be, but executed so well that you were just constantly engaged and always moving and always fighting. Let's talk though about some particulars in Titanfall 2. That Effect and Cause level I just mentioned. It's a perfect example of what the game did right in its execution, one of many in fact. That level alone though, if you pluck it out of the game and forget everything else about Titanfall for a second, you see something that's beyond a simple FPS game, and you see a game that's had way more thought and design than people might give it credit for on the surface. And there have been games in the past that have kind of tried to use what that level did as an entire game, and they failed. Now before we go into specifics, I'm just going to give a spoiler alert, because if you haven't played the game, then what I'm going to mention next might actually spoil and reveal a few things. Effect and Cause sees you time travelling through a level with the help of a device that you pick off a fallen comrade. And you can use this device to propel yourselves backwards and forwards in time, enabling you to move through the levels with doors or destroyed objects that weren't blocking your path in the past or the other timeline. Perhaps there's a huge burning hole that you can't traverse, but by using the device you're transported to the same place but in a previous point in time where the room was intact. Cross over and use the device again and you'll be on the other side. And you can do this at the flick of a button. It's completely seamless and introduces some excellent gameplay design. Of course, each timeline has different obstacles and enemies. In the past, the facility is all pristine and it's populated by robot workers and soldiers patrolling. It all looks very nice, but in the future, some serious business has gone down, it's all completely ruined, and there are alien creatures everywhere. In the arenas of combat, if you're struggling to deal with one set of creatures, you can quickly switch time and the room might be completely empty, regain some health, go back, and then finish the job. And what's incredibly cool and a great attention to detail, if you go into the past and kill people and then switch to the future in the same room, their bodies will fade into existence as if you've changed the fabric of time. And one point in particular is very sketchy, where you're falling through a fan and you have to smartly change timelines on the fly. That was very exciting, and the music that paired with it really kept you on the edge of your seat. And more excellent game design in the previous level to this, called The Abyss. And this sees you and your good Titan buddy BT travelling through a facility that was used to assemble prefabricated homes. It was an excellent and smart design that had you moving between homes in various stages of their build, and the entire level utilised the surroundings perfectly. Gone was the feeling of just moving forward in a linear way, taking on enemies in a small path, but instead it's an exciting surrounding that has a ton of variation and verticality to it. Sometimes the way to progress isn't that obvious and you've got to experiment with some wall runs and jumps, and you think, can I actually go up there? Is that part of the level? And most of the time, yes, it turns out that it is. And you kind of combine all this with the already impressive movement mechanics in the game. And then of course we've got the one big thing, literally, about Titanfall 2 that we haven't even covered yet. The Titans, and more specifically, your Titan that you spend most of the game with, BT-7274. During the course of the game you develop a friendship, a relationship with your Titan. It's a relationship that just works and fits perfectly. You inherit the Titan when its pilot, Captain Lastimosa, dies at the start of the game, and you've got to continue its primary objective. Throughout the campaign, it's a good blend of comedy and emotional connection, even though the story can make you feel happy and sad at times when certain things happen. The game does a fantastic job of giving you this companion on your trip that you can utilise to make the experience even more awesome. Fighting titans, huge frontal assaults, but also a friend in your ear when you've got to go it alone on foot. In Titanfall 2, BT-7274 is witty, and you really feel a connection to this massive titan. So when you combine intelligent level design that keeps the game fresh and constantly changing, and we haven't even touched on the Arc Tour level that they added in another new mechanic, with solid storytelling and a secondary character that you form an emotional bond with, then you're well on your way to a fantastic single player campaign. Yes, I think on regular difficulty it only lasts around 5 to 6 hours, but it's short and, oh yes, definitely sweet. Even at the end of the game, it doesn't relent. We get the introduction of the smart pistol, and you don't see this anywhere else in the game apart from right at the start when you see Captain Lastimosa installing the Seer kit into his Titan. And the smart pistol was one of the most hated things in multiplayer from the first game. It was very smart. It's a pistol that can lock onto multiple enemies and dispatch them in one shot. But in Titanfall 2 it's introduced at the very last moment, and it's perfect. It's a way to have one final last hurrah at the end and go out in style when you think that BT has been lost forever. It's just brilliant execution, and you go on this amazing rampage, and finally it ends up with you reuniting with a new upgraded version of BT, which has a smart minigun and all of the bells and whistles you could want in a Titan. And you know what, I think we were very fortunate that Titanfall 2 decided to rectify the mistakes of the first game and create a fully fleshed single player campaign, and in a lot of ways it's the game that I most enjoyed this year in terms of the single player experience. It just did everything right for me. It kept me entertained, and afterwards I was like, wow, that was so good that, you know, I want to tell other people about how good it is, and I want to talk to them about their experiences and their holy shit epic moments with the game. The game's been out now for a few months, but honestly, if you haven't played it, try and get a hold of it and play through the campaign. It's not long, but it's well worth it, and if you're into old school, fast-paced multiplayer experiences, then Titanfall 2 has that as well. And that's all for today, folks. Do give me a thumbs up and leave a comment down below if you've played the game. What were your thoughts on it? As always, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.